This is a Rebel Tales story. Comment, like, and subscribe for more. Toussaint Louverture, the chains that forged a liberator. The salty spray stings my face like 1,000 tiny lashes as I stand on the windswept cliffs of Saint-Domingue, the sun sinking low and painting the Caribbean Sea in blood-red hues that mirror the turmoil churning inside me. The year is 1791, and the distant drums pulse through the evening air, a rhythm that echoes the beat of my heart, calling to something deep and unyielding within. Below, the Breda plantation flickers with torchlight, shadows of enslaved bodies moving like ghosts in the fields, their chains clinking faintly on the breeze, a sound that has haunted my dreams since boyhood. A fire ignites in a distant hut, flames leaping high into the twilight sky, casting an orange glow that dances across the waves and shouts rise. Rebellion has begun. The cries piercing the night like arrows. My hands clench into fists, the rough texture of my calluses, built from years of cutting cane and tending horses, pressing against my palms, a reminder of the labor that shaped me. The wind howls around me, tugging at my simple shirt, carrying the acrid scent of smoke from the burning fields, and I feel the fire of destiny kindling within, a force I can no longer ignore. Thoughts race through my mind like the waves crashing against the rocks below. How long have I waited for this moment? A free man watching my brothers rise against the yoke that once bound us all. The French Revolution's echoes reach us here, whispers of liberté stirring the air. But for us, freedom is not a distant ideal. It's a flame we must seize or perish. Will I join them, lead them with the cunning I have honed in silence, or will the master's whips crush this spark before it spreads, dragging us all back into the darkness? The drums grow louder, urging me forward, and I take a step closer to the edge, the ground crumbling slightly under my boot, my breath quickening as the decision crystallizes. The cliffs dissolve into memory, and I find myself back in the sweltering fields of my childhood, the sun beating down mercilessly on my bare back as I swing a machete through the thick cane, the blades slicing with a swish that drowns out my labored breaths, sweat pouring down my face in rivulets that sting my eyes. It is around 1750, and the air hangs heavy with the sweet, sticky sap of the sugar cane, mingling with the earthy scent of soil turned by countless feet. My father, Gao Goinu, works beside me, his powerful frame bent low, his hands moving with a grace that betrays his royal blood from Malata, stolen across the ocean by slavers whose ships I imagine on the horizon, their sails billowing like evil omens, the creak of their hulls, a sound that haunts the stories he tells. He whispers those tales in my ear during brief rests, his breath hot and ragged, his eyes scanning for the overseer. Stories of African kings commanding vast armies, spears glinting under the sun, kingdoms where men walked free. Remember who you are, he murmurs, his voice low to evade the crack of the whip, and I nod, my young mind absorbing the words like parched soil drinks rain, the seeds of resistance planting deep. My mother, Pauline, tends the smaller plots nearby, her fingers deftly pulling weeds, her dress patched and faded from endless labor, her eyes darting to me with a mixture of love and fear, knowing the lash could fall for the slightest misstep. The overseer cracks his whip in the distance, the sound like thunder rolling across the fields, and I flinch, dropping my machete for a moment, the handle slick with sweat, thoughts flashing through my head. Why does God allow this suffering? The priests preach of heaven's rewards, but here on earth we endure hell's fires daily, our backs bent, our spirits tested. As a boy, I stumble through the cane rows, the sharp edges cutting my legs, leaving thin red lines that sting with every step, the blood mixing with dirt to form a gritty paste. The overseer's horse trots by, his shadow falling over me like a cloud, his voice barking orders that make my stomach twist. I learned to ride those horses in secret, my small frame swaying with each gallop across the fields at dusk, the wind rushing past my ears, the leather reins warm and reassuring in my hands, earning the nickname Fatras Baton for my thin build, a jest among the enslaved that masks my growing cunning. My godfather, Pierre Baptiste Simon, a carpenter with calloused hands and a kind smile, teaches me to read by the light of a hidden lantern in the hut, his finger tracing letters in a stolen Bible, the pages crinkling softly under his touch, the words opening a world beyond the plantation's confines. Knowledge is your weapon, he says, his voice a whisper that carries the weight of forbidden power. And I devour the letters, my mind expanding like the sea beyond the horizon, herbal remedies from the forest's secrets, mixing in my thoughts with stories of ancient warriors. The French Revolution's whispers reach us in 1789, the air buzzing with rumors of liberté, égalité, fraternité, carried on ships docking in the harbor, the sails flapping like flags of change, stirring a restlessness in me that I can no longer quell. At 33 in 1776, my master, Bayon de Liberté, hands me a paper, the ink fresh and black on the parchment, declaring my freedom, a fragile sheet that I clutch like a talisman, my heart soaring as I step beyond the plantation gates, for the first time as a free man, the ground feeling different under my feet, lighter, as if the earth itself recognizes my new status. I marry Suzanne Simone Baptiste, her hand warm in mine during the simple ceremony in a small chapel, the scent of incense mingling with wildflowers she holds, her eyes shining with promise as we exchange vows, our laughter echoing softly. We build a small life, farming land I rent, our children, Placide, Isaac, Saint Jean, running through the fields, their bare feet kicking up dust, their giggles a balm against the lingering shadows of slavery that still hang over the island. Thoughts flicker through my mind as I watch them play. Freedom for me, but what of my brothers still in chains, their backs bent under the same sun that warms my family's home? The French Revolution's echoes grow louder, stirring the air with possibility. But for us, the enslaved, it remains a distant thunder until the storm breaks closer. The 1789 revolt explodes like a volcano long dormant, the ground trembling under my feet as I hear the crack of muskets from my home, the shouts of rebels led by my cousin, Georges Biassou, piercing the night. Flames leaping high as they torch the plantations, the sky glowing orange, the acrid smoke burning my throat and eyes as I rush outside, the heat waving in the air like a mirage. Suzanne grips my arm, her fingers digging in with fear, her eyes wide in the firelight. But I feel a pull, a call from the drums beating in the hills, their rhythm syncing with my pulse, an ancient call to rise. I hesitate, my heart torn. Loyalty to my former master, who treated me with a measure of kindness, allowing me education and freedom, wars with the cries of the enslaved, their voices rising like a tide of long-suppressed fury. I guide him and his family through the chaos, my hands steady on his trembling shoulders, the smoke choking my lungs, the heat searing my face as we navigate hidden paths through the sugarcane, the stalks rustling like whispers of betrayal. But as I watch him flee into the night, his figure vanishing into the shadows, the sight of burning fields and freed bodies silhouetted against the flames shifts something within me, a spark igniting into resolve, my thoughts crystallizing. This is the moment. I cannot stand aside while my people bleed for a freedom I already taste. I return to the rebels, my steps quickening through the underbrush, branches snagging my clothes, the scent of burning wood heavy in the air. My medical skills tend the wounded, the blood warm and sticky on my hands as I stitch flesh under flickering torchlight, the groans of the injured mingling with the crackle of fire, my voice rising to organize the ragged army, grouping men into formations, assigning scouts to watch for French patrols. The Spanish offer alliance against the French, and I ride with them, my horse thundering across the plains, the wind whipping my face, the reins slick with sweat from my palms, my mind calculating moves like a chess master, outmaneuvering foes with ambushes in the misty mountains. The fog cloaking our approach, the surprise in the enemy's eyes as we strike. In 1793, I lead a raid on a French outpost, the fog swirling around us like a living shroud, my heart pounding as we creep through the underbrush, branches cracking underfoot, the scent of damp earth filling my nostrils. We strike at dawn, swords clashing in the gray light, gunfire popping like fireworks. The chaos a symphony I conduct with shouts and gestures, my blade singing through the air as I parry a soldier's thrust, the victory surging through me like a wave. France abolishes slavery in 1794. The news arriving on a ship that docks with fanfare, the decree read aloud to cheers that ripple through the crowd like a wave. And I switch sides, my banner now the tricolor fluttering in the breeze, my troops swelling with hope. There cheers a symphony of liberation as we march under the new flag, the ground firm under our boots. I earn Louverture, the opening for my tactical genius, breaking through enemy lines in a battle near Cap Francais, the ground trembling under charging horses, my horse rearing as I lead the assault, the clash of steel and cries of victory ringing in my ears, blood splattering my uniform as I cut through the ranks, the thrill of breakthrough a rush that makes me feel invincible. The 1790s test my resolve like a forge hammering steel. I lead campaigns across the island, my boots sinking into muddy battlefields, during rains that turn paths to quagmires, the earth clinging to my legs like reluctant chains, the scent of gunpowder thick and choking as I outmaneuver British forces invading from Jamaica, their red coats a vivid target in the green jungles, their cannons booming like thunder. I dodge ambushes, my horse bolting through thickets, branches whipping my face and arms, leaving welts that burn, my mind a whirlwind of maps and maneuvers drawn in the dirt by firelight. I negotiate with General Laveaux in 1796, my voice steady as I argue in a tent lit by lanterns, the wax dripping onto the table as we seal agreements with handshakes, securing my rise to lieutenant governor, the power settling on me like a heavy cloak. The island trembles under my command, the earth shaking with each victory, but rivals plot. Mulatto leaders like André Rigaud eye me with suspicion. Their whispers a constant hum in the humid air, their eyes narrowing as I pass in review of troops, their jealousy a poison I sense in every sidelong glance. I build alliances, my hands shaking treaties with neighboring chiefs over shared meals. Of rice and plantains, the flavor spicy on my tongue, the laughter around the fire, a brief respite from the war's grind. My mind envisioning a free Saint-Domingue where black men govern without fear, the vision clear as a mountain peak rising from the mist. In 1701, I conquer Spanish Santo Domingo, my army marching through jungles alive with the chatter of monkeys and the drip of rain from broad leaves, the heat oppressive and wet, vines snagging my uniform and slowing our advance, soldiers grumbling but following my lead as I urged them forward, the victory surging through me like a river breaking a dam, the Spanish forces scattering before us like leaves in a gale. Suspense grips me in 1802. Napoleon sends General Leclerc, his ships darkening the horizon like a gathering storm, the sea churning with their approach, sails billowing as they anchor in the bay, the cannons gleaming on their decks, a promise of destruction. I send scouts to watch their landing, the reports coming back on horseback, the riders' faces slick with sweat, their words tumbling out. Thousands, armed to the teeth. I ride to negotiate, my horse's hooves pounding the earth, the ground trembling under its weight, dust kicking up in clouds that choke the air, my uniform crisp despite the heat, my mind a storm of strategies. Will words suffice, or must we meet steel with steel? Leclerc extends a hand, his smile a mask of civility, his eyes cold as the ocean depths, but treachery awaits. He arrests me under a flag of truce, soldiers swarming like locusts, their rough hands grabbing my arms, twisting them behind me, the rope biting into my wrists as they tie it tight, my heart sinking like a stone in water as they drag me aboard the frigate Eros, the deck swaying beneath my feet, the creak of wood and snap of sails a dirge for my freedom. The voyage to France unfolds as a nightmare. Chains clank against the hold's damp wood with every pitch of the ship, the stench of mold, unwashed bodies, and bilge water filling my nostrils, making me gag, waves slamming the hull like hammers on an anvil, shaking the timbers, my mind racing with plans that dissolve into silence, escape routes imagined but impossible as the ship pitches in the Atlantic swell, seawater seeping through cracks and soaking my clothes. I lie on the hard plank, the motion rocking me like a cradle of despair, thoughts flooding me. My people, those brave souls in Saint-Domingue, their dark skin glistening under the sun as they toiled, now rising with machetes in hand, their eyes burning with the same fire that once ignited in me when I first tasted freedom. I see them in my mind's eye, charging through the cane fields, flames leaping behind them, their shouts a chorus of freedom that echoes across the ocean, their faces, men like Jean-Francois, women like my Suzanne, etched with determination. Have I abandoned them in their hour of need, or have I given them the tools to forge their own path, the strategies I taught, the unity I built, the rise I achieved? From a slave boy tending horses, my hands raw from reins and bridles, the stable smelling of hay and sweat, to a general commanding thousands, my voice booming orders that turned tides of battle, the troops marching in formation under my gaze, flashes before me like lightning. I remember the first taste of leadership, organizing raids where my strategies unfolded like a well-laid trap. Enemies falling into ambushes I designed in the quiet of night. The satisfaction of victory, a warm rush through my veins as we celebrated around campfires. The scent of roasted meat mingling with gunpowder. The war, those endless campaigns. The mud sucking at my boots during rains that turned fields to quagmires. The earth clinging to my legs like reluctant chains. The acrid smoke of gunpowder burning my throat and eyes, the cries of the wounded piercing the night as I bandaged their wounds with steady hands, the blood sticky under my fingernails, taught me the cost of liberty, each loss a scar on my soul. Allies betrayed me, the French with their false promises of equality, arriving with decrees that glittered like fool's gold, the Spanish with their opportunistic alliances, their generals shaking my hand one day and plotting the next. But each setback hardened me, my mind sharpening like a blade forged in fire, turning defeats into lessons that built an army unbreakable. Was it all worth it? The question haunts me as the ship rolls, my body aching from the hard deck, the fever beginning to burn in my veins. Yes, even as chains bite my skin anew, I know it was. The paper freedoms I won, the battles where my tactics turned the tide, the Constitution I drafted with my own hand, quill dipping into ink as I envisioned a land where black men governed without fear, the words flowing like a river of hope, the sacrifices, the friends lost in ambushes, their bodies falling in the mud, the nights I lay awake planning, the candle guttering low, pale against the vision of a free Haiti, where children like my sons run without chains, their laughter unbound. I lean against the bulkhead, the wood rough and splintered under my back, my fingers tracing the grain as if searching for a weakness, a crack in this floating prison that mirrors the flaws in the empire that built it. Reflections flood me like waves. My people will endure. I see Dessalines taking the mantle, his sword raised high in my mind's eye, the Haitian flag waving in the wind, a symbol of what one man's defiance can birth, the colors vibrant against the blue sky, the rise from obscurity, the war's brutal lessons, the betrayals. They forged a nation from ashes, a legacy that Napoleon's chains cannot erase. It was all worth it. The pain of separation from Suzanne, her face the last I saw as they dragged me away, her tears glistening, the uncertainty for my children, who must now navigate a world without my guidance. The abyss stares back, cold and dark from the porthole's small window, the stars mocking me with their freedom. But I do not flinch. I have gazed into it and emerged with a truth that will outlive me, a truth that whispers, freedom is not given, it is taken, and my stand has shown the way. The ship docks in Brest. After weeks at sea, the gangplank thudding under my feet as guards shove me forward, the cold French air slicing through my thin clothes like knives. Rain pelting my face as they march me through fog-shrouded streets, their boots echoing on cobblestones, the chill seeping into my bones like poison. They confine me to Fort de Joux, high in the Jura Mountains, the carriage rattling up winding paths, the stone walls rising like a giant's fortress, the heavy gate creaking open as they push me inside. The cell is narrow, the air dank with mildew, and the faint echo of dripping water from the ceiling. A thin straw mattress on the floor, my only bed, the flickering light from a single lantern, casting long shadows that seem to whisper of defeat. Guards shove me inside, the heavy door slamming shut with a finality that echoes down the corridor, leaving me alone with the drip of water and the scuttle of rats in the corners, the sound amplifying in the silence. My body weakens almost immediately, the cold seeping into my joints like venom. Fever racking me with shivers that make my teeth chatter, each cough a sharp pain in my chest, phlegm flecked with blood. Staining the stone floor as I double over, my hands bracing against the wall. I pace the cell when strength allows, my footsteps a muffled rhythm on the damp flagstones, my breath fogging in the frigid air. The chains on my ankles clinking with every step, a constant reminder of the bondage I thought I had escaped forever. Thoughts surge through me like a relentless tide, my mind a battlefield where memories clash. My people, those brave souls in Saint-Domingue, their dark skin glistening under the sun as they toiled in the fields, now rising with machetes in hand, their eyes burning with the same fire that once ignited in me when I first tasted freedom after years of labor. I see them in my mind's eye, charging through the cane fields, flames leaping behind them as they burn the symbols of their oppression, their shouts a chorus of freedom that echoes across the ocean, carrying to this frozen cell. Have I abandoned them in their hour of need, or have I given them the tools to forge their own path, the strategies I taught in the heat of battle, the unity I built through shared hardships? The rise I achieved, from a slave boy tending horses, my hands raw from reins and bridles, the stable smelling of hay and sweat, the master's voice barking orders as I groomed the animals, to a general commanding thousands, my voice booming orders that turned tides of battle, troops marching in formation under my gaze, their boots thumping in unison, flashes before me like lightning illuminating a dark night. The war, those endless campaigns, the mud sucking at my boots during rains that turned fields to quagmires, the earth clinging to my legs like reluctant chains as I slogged through, the acrid smoke of gunpowder burning my throat and eyes, blinding me momentarily as cannons roared, the cries of the wounded piercing the night like knives as I bandaged their wounds with steady hands, the blood sticky under my fingernails, the metallic taste in my mouth from biting down on fear, taught me the cost of liberty, each loss a scar in my soul that hardened me against despair. Allies betrayed me, the French with their false promises of equality, arriving with decrees that glittered like fool's gold, their generals shaking my hand one day with smiles that hid daggers, plotting the next with letters sealed in Paris, the Spanish with their opportunistic alliances, their officers toasting our victories with rum while scheming to reclaim the island. But each setback fueled me, my mind sharpening like a blade forged in fire, turning defeats into lessons that built an army unbreakable. Men who followed me not out of fear but out of shared vision, their eyes meeting mine with trust as we planned. By campfire light, the flames crackling like the spark of revolution itself. I lean against the wall, the stone cold and unyielding under my back, my fingers tracing the rough surface as if searching for a crack, a weakness in this fortress that mirrors the flaws in the empire that built it, the mortar crumbling slightly under my nails. Reflections flood me like waves crashing against the cell's barriers. Was it all worth it? The question haunts me as the fever burns through my veins, my body shivering uncontrollably, sweat beading on my forehead despite the chill. Yes, even as the chains bite my skin anew, I know it was. The paper freedoms I won for others, the battles where my tactics turned the tide, enemies scattering like leaves in a gale, the constitution I drafted with my own hand, quill dipping into ink under lamplight, as I envisioned a land where black men governed without fear, the words flowing like a river of hope that no prison can dam, the sacrifices, the friends lost in ambushes, their bodies falling in the mud with final gasps, the nights I lay awake planning, the candle guttering low as I mapped strategies on scraps of paper, the separation from Suzanne, her face the last I saw as they dragged me away, her tears glistening in the torchlight, her hand reaching out in vain, pale against the vision of a free Haiti, where children like my sons run without chains, their laughter unbound by overseers' whips, farms thriving under black ownership, the sea a pathway to prosperity rather than enslavement. I see it all now in the fevered visions that dance before my eyes, my people enduring, rising even without me, Dessalines taking the mantle, his sword raised high in my mind's eye, the Haitian flag waving in the wind, its colors vibrant against the blue sky, a symbol of what one man's defiance can birth. The rise from obscurity, the war's brutal lessons, the betrayals, they forged a nation from ashes, a legacy that Napoleon's chains cannot erase. It was all worth it, the pain of separation, the uncertainty for my children, who must now navigate a world without my guidance, the betrayal by those I trusted. The abyss stares back from the small barred window, the mountains looming cold and dark, snow flurries swirling like lost souls, but I do not flinch. I have gazed into it and emerged with a truth that will outlive me, a truth that whispers, freedom is not given, It is taken, and my stand has shown the way, my life a bridge for others to cross. I lean forward, my elbows on the rough wooden table they allow me, and scratch messages on the walls with a shard of stone, my nails splintering as I carve words of hope into the unyielding surface, blood smearing the letters, but my hand steady. Liberty will prevail. Coughs rack me, each one a dagger in my lungs, phlegm bubbling up with a metallic taste. But my mind clings to visions. Children in Saint-Domingue, running free under the sun. No whips cracking over their heads, their laughter a symphony of victory. The guards' footsteps echo down the hall, their keys jingling like mocking bells, but I smile faintly, knowing my thoughts cannot be chained. It was all worth it, the exile from my land, the cold that now freezes my bones, for in my fall, a people rise, their voices a chorus that will drown out the tyrant's decrees. The days blur into nights, the fever intensifying, my body wasting away as food turns to ash in my mouth, the broth they bring cold and tasteless. I lie on the straw mattress, the prickly fibers jabbing my back, staring at the ceiling where cracks spiderweb like the fractures in the French Empire. Thoughts of my rise flood me again. The moment I first commanded men, my voice cutting through the chaos of battle, soldiers looking to me with trust, their eyes reflecting the fire I kindled. The negotiations where I outwitted generals, my words weaving traps they walked into blindly. The war's horrors, the bodies piled in fields, the smoke from cannons blinding the sun, were the price for a dawn where black men stand tall. Yes, it was worth it. Every drop of blood, every sleepless night, for the legacy endures beyond this cell. On April 7th, 1803, as pneumonia claims me, my breath growing shallow, the final darkness enveloping me like a shroud, I whisper a final affirmation. It was all worth it. My spirit lingers, a flame that refuses to die. My body returns to Saint-Domingue in 1804, my legacy fueling Jean-Jacques Dessalines' independence, the Haitian flag raised high, the drums of freedom beating anew. I reflect, from a slave boy to a liberator, my rebellions shaped my soul. What chains bind you, I wonder?